It is, of course, Thursday here on Texas Football Today. And in the offseason, that means one thing and one thing only. That's right. It's time for Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
Math Tuesday.
It's Math Tuesday here on Texas Football Today. And perhaps you're asking yourself, I thought today was Thursday. Mm-hmm. It's Math Tuesday.
It is
here on Texas
Tuesday.
Football Today. Math Tuesday is a vibe. It is not constrained by the calendar. Okay, Math Tuesday is whatever day you want it to be. Let's talk a little bit about offenses in Texas high school football. And we've studied this over the past couple of years about how offense has really, in a lot of ways in Texas high school football, I think it's plateaued. And what I mean by that is, if you take a look at offense, especially before the 2020 season, and really before about the 2018 season, it was kind of on a steady increase, kind of increasing, getting up to about 28 points per game on average, which, was up, 3-4 points from 20 years before. It was gradually increasing. And then in about 2019, it plateaued at about 28 points per game. 2020 had like a weird thing. Like we'd kind of throw that out because it actually dipped significantly down to like 24 points per game, which was strange. But that whole year was strange, obviously. And then it immediately rebounded back up 28 points per game. That's why we kind of threw out 2020. And it's kind of stayed there. It's kind of plateaued there. And if you take a look at the 2025 Texas high school football season, you will see that on the whole, teams averaged about 27.8 points per game. That's the average broadly across UIL 11-man Texas high school football. And that is right in line with what we've seen the past couple of years. But I think if you were to chart offense in Texas high school football, you would see from about 2000 to 2018 a gradual, steady incline. I think with the advent of the spread offense is probably what you can put onto that. A weirdo drop in 2020, and then right back to 2020. But it's kind of overall plateaued. So I want to talk about which offenses in Texas high school football really stood out. And we're going to start with the real basic stuff, which is, hey, who scored the most points? Who are the highest scoring offenses in Texas high school football in 2025? This is UIL 11-man teams. And I don't know how much attention, this is across all classifications, 6A through 2A. And I don't know how much attention you were paying to them, but the number one offense in 2025 was the Alvarado Indians. Alvarado scored 62.4 points per game. The highest scoring offense in Texas high school football in 2025. 62.4. And look at the gap between number one and number two. Number two was Ozona, right? Ozona, of course, Christian Villarreal, an unbelievable year. But they scored almost 4 points fewer per game than Alvarado. Alvarado lapped the field offensively, 62.4 points per game. Mount Enterprise, with the remarkable Kagan Ash, came in third, 58.1. Bastrop, we talked about them, that high-flying offense that they had. Weston Nielsen at the helm, 56.3. Panhandle, Coach Dane Ashley doing an unbelievable job there at Panhandle. Broxton Robinson, their incredible quarterback. El Paso El Dorado, 55.1. Richmond Randall, of course, played in the state championship game, which makes that all the more impressive that they played 16 games and averaged almost 54 points per game. Alamo Heights, just under 54, as is Newton, who also played in the title game. So they did that over 16 games. And Terrell, one of the breakout teams in Texas high school football, 53 points per game, 0.4. So those are the highest points per game average in Texas high school football in 2025. Those are, quite simply, just, from a very basic perspective, the highest scoring offenses in Texas high school football. But I want to dig in a little bit deeper because, obviously, look, Alvarado has been an offensive powerhouse under Casey Walraven, now the head coach at Hutto, Alvaredo's been an offensive fireworks factory for quite some time. Alvarado did not improve their offense all that much from 2024 to 2025. Now, part of that is because they averaged 51 points a game in 2024. Their offense has been really good all year long for the past couple of years. But what about the teams that made the biggest leap offensively from 2024 to 2025? These were the most improved offenses in Texas high school football. I want you to take a look at this. Take a look at what Chilton was able to do. Okay? Chilton managed to improve their offense by a staggering 28.8 points per game. I want you to think about that. That means that Chilton improved their offense by 4 touchdowns per game. Okay? This is an offense that went from averaging 14.7 points per game, which I would say is below average, if not poor, to averaging 43.5 points per game. Just simply stunning what they were able to do. Okay? Next up, by the way, we talked about them, is Terrell. Terrell is a team that had a remarkable improvement, 25.7 points per game. They went from 27.7 points per game, which is about average, right? We talked about it, about 27 points a game average. From there to 53 points a game. Raymondville's up next, 24.8 points per game, going from under 20 points to nearly 45 points. Lubbock Liberty in their second varsity season. I don't think necessarily a surprise to see them make that big leap and go from being a good offense, 25 points a game, up to nearly 50. Alvord, 24-point lead. Mansfield Lake Ridge had a big breakout year, 24 points per game. Merkel, the Badgers, were up 23.5 points per game. Ozona, we talked about them with Christian Villarreal. They were remarkably better than they were last year. Even though they averaged 35 points a game the year before, them and Mount Enterprise each made that huge leap. And finally, I want to make sure we give a shout out here to Houston Madison. Because Houston Madison, I think, did something pretty remarkable too. They were, I think people may notice that they flew under the radar. This is an offense that was really poor in 2024. 13.5 points a game. They jumped all the way up to 36 points a game. Plain and simple, it's not a surprise that they went from 3-7 to 9-2. Did Houston Madison. So those are the most improved offenses from 2024 to 2025. But that is a one-year thing, right? That is a one-year offensive jump. For example, you can look at Ozona and say, okay, well, they were an offense that was good last year, made a big leap with Christian Villarreal, but now he's graduating. Do they kind of fall back to the pack? What about the trend lines here? What if we zoom this out to the last 2 years? Which offenses have improved over the last 2 seasons combined? And by the way, this isn't some math where you go, oh, well, actually they were way better last year and, not as good this year. All these teams here, the trajectory is going way, way, way up. And perhaps surprisingly, you have Pilot Point at the very top. Pilot Point, over the last 2 seasons, they went from 0-9 back in 2023 to 9-3 this past year, up 36 points per game. More than 5 touchdowns per game. Improvement. Not to be outdone, El Paso El Dorado in that mix as well. Nearly 33 points per game. Houston Sharpstown over the last 2 seasons, up 32 points a game. West Mesquite, the arrow's pointing way up for them. 32 points a game. Sanger has made a huge leap. Raymondville, Fairfield up nearly 29 points per game. We talked about Bastrop as one of the highest scoring offenses in Texas high school football in 2025. That is about them making a huge leap offensively. 2 years ago, they were a pretty average offense. Now they're a juggernaut. Crystal City and Edinburgh Economides. I made this point about Edinburgh Economides and their coach Raul Salas, that he is one of two coaches, along with Casey Walraven at Cleburne, who has seen the offense and defense improve each of the last 4 seasons. For Crystal City and Edinburgh Economides, the arrow is very clearly pointing up. And I think for these offenses, the trend lines are really, really encouraging. Because again, you can look at this and say, okay, well, this past year, maybe they just had one singular player or things just broke well for them. Maybe you can. I think over this one tells a more stark story of offenses where the arrow is very clearly pointed up. And Pilot Point, I think, surprisingly leading the way in that mix. So there it is, a look at some of the most dynamic offenses in Texas high school football in 2025. On the next episode of Math Tuesday, we will take a look at the most dynamic defenses in Texas high school football. Who did the best job of slowing down these offenses? We'll get into that next time on Math Tuesday.